What if we told you there was a hidden chemical weapons factory tucked away in the heart of a village in northeast Wales? What if we revealed that the early experiments which laid the groundwork for the atomic bomb were conducted there? Would you believe us? If you don't know us, I'm Rachel, he's Wills, and we are Postcard and a Pint. Come with us to a secret valley in Flintshire. So secret you couldn't find it on a map until more recent times. We're at Rhydymwyn Valley. Now, let's get exploring. Driving between Mold and Denby, you pass through the village of Rhydymwyn, and down a quiet side street, you find this. A gate that leads to somewhere that for a long time people didn't even know existed. In fact,
This place was so secret, you couldn't find it on any maps.
we had to read a fair few rules and regulations and get ourselves acquainted with maps of the site. Over the years, quite a few famous faces have visited this site. Now it's the turn of Postcard and a Pint. Take it away, Wills.
It was quite an easy process to get in. I phoned up in the middle of the week and they said, just turn up. So we turned up, there's a little gatehouse, which you've seen, and we had to fill in an application form, and we've now become team leaders of the Rhydymwyn Valley Historical Society, apparently. Because we filled this in, it cost us £5 each. We can now bring up to 6 people each on site with us, so that's quite exciting. And that's pretty much it. You get given a bit of an induction, you get given a little manual to read with all the rules and regulations and the health and safety, and we've got a copy of the map, and because we're first-time visitors, we've got a copy of the book with all of the bump in, so we'll show you some bits of that in a bit. And let's go take a look around.
So, Team Leader Rach, what exactly is this site? Why was it so secret? And what was it used for?
This mile-long site, Valley Works, was acquired by the Ministry of Supply in 1938 so that an underground and overground chemical weapons production and storage facility could be built.
Can you believe that this now eerily quiet site once produced and stored the majority of the UK's mustard gas during World War II?
We're at building P6.
And it's dangerous.
This was an important building. It was a process plant housing pyro. It's now Grade 2 listed, but you can't go in it because it's got a colony of bats in it.
Which is lovely, but there is a much darker history to this building, as
Building P6 also had another use.
one that changed history forever.
This has an atomic bomb connection.
It's hard to believe it now, but
In early testing of gaseous diffusion, 4 pilot gaseous units were built in the UK, 3 of which were in this building, P6.
in February 1940, Rudolf Peierls and Robert Otto Frisch calculated that if you could separate U-235 from uranium-238, as little as 1 kilogram would be sufficient to cause a large explosion. When the Quebec Agreement of 1943 was signed by Churchill and Roosevelt, all future development of the atomic bomb was signed to the USA and Canada.
And 20 UK scientists joined the Manhattan Project.
The first atomic bomb was dropped on Hiroshima on August the 6th, 1945. It killed up to 166,000 people.
It's really quite eerie. It's got a really weird atmosphere to it. I'm going to do a bit of sound recording in a bit, but it's a bit odd.
Eerie or odd, you can certainly feel the weight of the events that happened here. Each building with its own story to tell.
Building 58. Mysterious, closed up. Is this where they stored the mustard gas?
Nope, it was a clothing store.
Okay, so not every building has as dark a past as P6. Many people worked here though.
In 1943, there were about 2,200 people working here at Valley. The vast majority of these were directed here by the government and billeted with local families. Hard to imagine now.
But if you stand still and just listen, maybe you can hear the voices of the past as the workers fill this site daily. Tell us about this building, Wills.
A few years ago, before the pandemic, we, the theatre that I work in, were due to do a big show. It was a big immersive thing, and it was called Project Hush, and it was all about the making of the atomic bomb. I don't really know what it was about. I hadn't read the script, but it was due to be done in this building, and it would have been an absolute nightmare. There's no facilities here. The generators alone would have cost £30,000. It's mad. Have a listen to this.
To have done a production in there would have been a challenge.
To be perfectly honest, it would have been quite fun. It would have been good to maybe have done and look back on and go, oh yeah, wasn't that a thing? But I'm glad we didn't do it.
So am I. As we said before, this was an overground and underground chemical weapons facility, and the River Allen, running right down the centre of the valley, was in the way. The first job was to canalise it, or divert its course to make room for the factory, and this was quite the feat of engineering. Instead of being impressed, Wills made a recording. And a lovely recording it was too. We enjoyed exploring the last of the buildings in this section, as
This middle section of the site has had all the buildings removed and is now called the Wetlands and is a nature reserve, which is absolutely lovely.
and also where we found the tunnels.
We've just found one of the entrances of the secret tunnels. Well, they're not secret tunnels. We're not allowed to go down these today, unfortunately. They do tours, organised tours, but let's go have a look.
As the tunnels are still very secret,
This has led to some bizarre conspiracy theories, one of which is the nation's artworks were stored here in World War II. They weren't, they were stored at Marod.
it was used for secret communications, but
There's no evidence of a secret communication centre.
food was stockpiled here, but
There's also no evidence of food ever being stored here by the EEC.
there's an extra secret tunnel, but
There's no fourth tunnel. They're exactly the same as they were in 1941.
some things, though, are true.
There were plans, though, for projects Wellbright, Mallard and Trojan.
And what would those be then?
Wellbright was a plan to relocate the NATO oil executives here,
Project Mallard was to store the Bank of England's gold here.
and Trojan was to use the tunnels as a safe space in the event of nuclear attack.
The exit to this tunnel isn't exactly a safe space today, as it's so muddy. I know you'd like to see me fall in, but I'm as gazelle-like as ever. It's not called the Wetlands for nothing. We visited the bird hide to, well, hide. I saw nothing, Will saw me, and we carried on past the other entrances to the tunnel system and down to the bottom of the site. Where are we off to now, Wills?
We're now going into the danger zone.
Which isn't as jolly as Wills makes it sound. This was the area where everything came together. In this danger area, you'll find munitions buildings, weapon stores, planting, packing and painting where they assembled these weapons. It's amazing to see all the old light fittings are here. We're not sure what the A and B is for on all the walls of these buildings, but so cool. Back in 2010, a lady called Rosina Parry, the last known person who worked here that was still alive, did an interview for BBC's The One Show. She said, "The bombs were laid out for us to inspect. We had to pass them to make sure they weren't damaged in any way, that they weren't leaking before they were sent through to be packed. We knew you couldn't have any leaks. You only needed a little spot and you'd be burned. People in the Air Force were going to handle them after us, so we had to be sure there was nothing wrong with them when they went out." Thank you, Rosina, for sharing your memories. Now, where on earth is Wills?
I really have lost Rachel. I've no idea where she is. She's somewhere around here.
He's lost for a change.
Whoa. Just spin you around to have a look.
Let's leave you there, lad, and I'll continue to explore the old paths of this fascinating site. The paths, incidentally, are made of a material that is both non-slip and non-spark, a sensible choice for a chemical weapons plant. Now, how's Wills getting on?
Rachel?
Still lost, I see?
No idea where she is. She's not answering.
That's standard.
She's disappeared in this ghost town. This is a bit of a ghost town, actually.
Poor little Wills, lost in a disused chemical weapons plant, all by himself. Until...
I think I found her. If it isn't her, there's a ghost in here.
Is Wills about to discover a lingering echo from World War II?
Oh, it is you.
Cheers, lad. It's nice to know I've been so missed. But talking of lingering echoes from World War II...
Behind me on the wall is some graffiti from World War II, or some maths working out. They've been working out measurements on the wall. You can even see the word chloride.
This building was once a weapons receipt store. And although we're not 100% clear, we now think that the letters over the doors had something to do with shift patterns and which shift you were in. The remnants of posters left on the walls make for fascinating reading. The clear message driven home again and again is that rules must be known and heeded. Once again, I left Wills alone and went off in search of the railway. He got some beautiful shots of the site on this cold and atmospheric day in January. But without his supervisor, aka me, he got cocky and thought he'd have a go at indoor drone flying. How did that go, Wills?
Rach is over there filming. I've just had my first drone fail. I've just crashed it into the wall of that building there. You might see the footage. I don't know if it recorded or not. But the drone's okay. It's all right. But wow, what an incredible place. It's just, I keep saying this, but it just blows my mind thinking of what used to go on here. Let's go have a look, see what Rach is doing.
But Wills, with the shortest attention span known to man, instead finds...
I think this is the old shower block.
As well as all of the buildings used to assemble and check weapons, you'll also find air raid shelters, washrooms, the workers' mess, changing rooms and offices, all parts of Rhydymwyn Valley works that kept the plant running day to day. Let's explore. We were almost at the end of the site now, but there were still a few more buildings to explore and to try to imagine what life would have been like back in the early 1940s. Nature is the only user of this office now, and if you've a call of nature, the toilets are long gone, although this urinal still exists. Nature is in fact slowly reclaiming the site, and many buildings are damp and decaying. But back in the day,
all of the buildings on this site were painted camouflage. You can still see the remains of this today, and this was because had the Germans found out what was going on here, they'd have bombed it. Who'd have thought, in a sleepy little valley in North Wales.
We were thoroughly enjoying our day out, walking in the footsteps of those who worked tirelessly to defend this country. And we did finally find the station. The Mould Denby line once ran along the front of this site, and a siding was added during World War II to serve the works.
And we're now standing on the old platform.
But it's a ghost station today. Next to it, you'll find the old wood waste and box room. What a remarkable step back in time our visit had been. There's nothing commercial about this site at all yet, and we sincerely hope it stays this way. There's enough written on boards if you want to learn, but you're equally free to wander and just take it all in.
We've pretty much got to the end of the site. We're walking back. We're going to walk along the road or the path that we haven't been yet, and we'll see the same buildings but from a different angle.
We think it's the old railway.
We do think it's the old railway. God, it's been so amazing.
I think it's safe to say that Wills's mind is blown, as is mine, to be honest. Until Wills almost did a show here, I had no idea this place existed. On this route back, there was a building we hadn't seen yet. This is the electrical substation, and you can look inside. There's nothing left, and it is very dark and damp inside. But with a good torch or a ring light, there are always discoveries to be made. Heading back to the path, we made yet more discoveries.
We found the old railway tracks.
In and amongst the undergrowth, there are still remains of the old siding that once ran into this site. But what happened once World War II was over?
After 1945, the UK didn't manufacture any more mustard gas and had all of its mustard gas plants decommissioned.
The chemical stockpile was disposed of between 1952 and 1959, And the Ministry of Fisheries and Food used the site until 1994, when it ceased operation. But now,
nature has slowly reclaimed this site, and it's a fascinating place to come and visit.
but I think our favourite fact of all facts is that this was the only UK wartime installation never located by German intelligence. What a brilliant place to put it, and why on earth would anyone ever look for a chemical weapons factory here? I think you all know how we found this visit.
That was incredibly cool and really moving as well. But our time has come to an end here and it's time to go home. We'll see you back there for a sum up. We're back, and that was, I just got fantastic.
It was
absolutely
mind-blowing.
fantastic. That was something that was a sort of last minute throwaway. Can we go somewhere? We want to go somewhere near because we've got so much to do at home.
10 minutes down the road. It's not even 10 minutes away.
Oh my God, I had no idea that was there.
It's incredible.
I wish I'd been able to talk to my parents, see if they knew it was there, especially because my mum was a vackie up here in the war. Did she even know it was there? It was brilliant. I just loved that the Germans never found out.
Yeah, it really was. And what we've also learned, well, we've learned a lot more since going there last week. And on the research for doing the editing of the video, it's just absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah,
Really
and
is.
well worth a visit. I hope it doesn't become over-commercialised
I don't think it will.
and turn into like a World War II theme park.
I don't think it will.
Yeah, absolutely amazing, and there's not a lot else to say other than that.
There really isn't. I'm glad we didn't do the show there because it would have been an absolute nightmare. But on the flip side, I kind of wish I'd have learnt a bit more about it, and it would have been fun to at least have looked back on and say we did that.
Yeah.
But
And
it would have been hard work.
dry January.
Dry January, yeah,
Well,
still.
damp January.
We lapsed. We had one day off
only
last
one
week.
day.
We had a couple of glasses of wine one day last week.
I went
That's
back to
not bad, is
work,
it? We're
what can I
human.
say? I went back
know.
to work, it's not good for me.
I know,
So-
Anyway, we should kind of round it
We
up,
should
really,
round
shouldn't we?
this up. If you'd like that video, that would be great. Did you enjoy this? This is quite different. It was a lot more sombre, wasn't quite so silly and funny, I don't think. Wasn't supposed to be.
Wasn't meant to be, anyway.
Yeah, let us know what you think.
Would you like us to do more videos like this? Should we go
yeah.
exploring? Because I am Indiana Jones. you know.
Yeah, he is now an urban explorer.
I
after
am
this
now
video.
an urban explorer.
And getting lost and
Hey, come
crashing
on.
your drone into an inside of a building.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Pistons off.
drop us a comment below.
Do all of that.
Like
Hit
this
the like
video.
button and leave us a comment.
Give it a share.
Oh, yeah, do that, please.
Yeah, give it a share.
Absolutely.
Right,
So,
I'll say, as we say,
in Postcard and a Pint, cheers to the good times. Where do rabbits learn to fly?
I don't know.
The Royal Air Force!
Oh.